I mean, where do you stand on the optimism we've seen from some ahead of various trial results which are due?
Yeah. So, thank you for having me. So, I have a certain level of skepticism going into the results of these studies. Remdesivir is really the first drug to be tested in a very formal fashion in a number of randomized controlled studies for COVID-19. The drug does have a bit of a history, though, and my skepticism really comes from the drug was not developed to treat this virus. It is not targeted to treat the symptoms of the virus. It's actually targeted to treat the underlying virus itself by inhibiting the replication of the virus. Now, this drug was originally designed to target inhibition of the replication of the Ebola virus, which shares a number of characteristics, and the mechanism of this drug does have overlap with both viruses, although the viruses replicate in totally different cells. Now, I would say, I think that the results from the Ebola study that were done with remdesivir are ambiguous at best. I think that there's a fair argument that it may not have even worked. It was in a 4-arm study. It performed the worst. Remdesivir performed the worst of all 4 arms. 2 drugs did much better than that. So I think to try to convert this and think that going into a much different tissue, these lung cells, that we're going to see some big magnitude of effect, I think it's a lot of wishful thinking. I hope to God I'm wrong. But looking at drug development over history, there's not a lot of examples where something that was designed to go to one tissue and inhibit a certain pathogen miraculously works very well at another tissue inhibiting a different pathogen when it failed in the primary targeted pathogen.
Well, obviously, what you're saying is very important. Obviously, it has some implications, not just for Gilead stock, the entire market, and everybody, I think, in the world is pretty hopeful here. Just to be clear, are you basing your sort of skepticism on any clinical data or anything that you're actually hearing about the studies going on, or are you just sort of speculating? Because I want people to understand you're an equity analyst, you're not a doctor. Right. So I'm just wondering where you're getting your information.
Yeah, so as I said, there's been no formal presentation of data in the COVID-19 indication. There's plenty of anecdotes. Gilead themselves have said over 1,500 patients have been dosed, and there's a lot of anecdote of a sign of an effect. And I think people take that to be very promising. I think the problem here is you have a disease where you have a very, very high spontaneous resolution rate to begin with. Most patients will recover, a fair number. Unfortunately, there's very, very high mortality and morbidity associated with it. But really delineating when a patient is responding to a therapeutic versus just responding to the care that they're given, that's where you really need controlled studies. And there has been no controlled data from this drug other than in the indication that it was originally developed for Ebola. And in that indication, it performed, I would say fairly poorly.